a relatively young age of 46,
No
and
ducks
on the
left.
side,
We'll keep these and we can
he
put them
had
on the
3
way back.
wives and 8 children.
Want to do more?
In front of the cathedral are the remains of the Shrewsbury town walls, although 70% still remains today, and they were built in the 12th century by a father and his 2 sons, who got paid £3 for every 100 foot of wall that they completed. The walls were primarily built to keep out the Welsh. However, today though, we welcome the Welsh in, along with everybody else.
Wall.
Coming up now, on the leftward side is a large warehouse-looking building. 200 years ago, it started life as a brewery, Troutz's Brewery. And over its life, it's been a few things. It's been a mill, a foundry, laundry, warehousing, but today, luxury apartments and flat. If you look at the building as a whole and sort of split it in half, well, the left-hand side was actually constructed when they built the flats, and the right-hand side being the original brewery building. And when the brewery was in operation, there was a thing attached to it called a tiddly bar. Now there was a number of these tiddly bars attached to breweries throughout the UK at that time. It's where children under the age of 6 could get 2/3 of a pint of weakened beer per day because it was deemed safe to drink the local water. Bit ironic here in Shrewsbury, since the water used to make the beer in the first place came out of the River Severn, giving it a distinct
Making a terrible mess. Look, that's a terrible mess we've made. Oh dear. I think there aren't any ducks.
The river wildlife. There are a few species on the river: swans, ducks, goosanders, cormorants, kingfishers, Canada geese. The whole host of fish: salmon, trout, tench and roach.
When are we going to see Mummy? Well, when we get back.
And coming up again on the right starboard side is the Roman Catholic Cathedral again, and to the right of the cathedral are 2 church spires sticking up above the building line. The one we know markings on the left one, that's St Altman's, and that's 1100 years old, and the other, St Mary's, which is the 3rd tallest church spire in England at 220 feet tall.
Didn't know that. We learn something every day.
Both churches have lovely stained glass windows, but more so in St Mary's, where in the east wing is the tree of Jesse.
Oh, darling, who's there?
This boat's called Sabrina. Well, Sabrina was the old Roman name for the River Severn. And in the 12th century, the Welsh called it Hafren. That's when the river was the boundary between England and Wales. Shrewsbury's names over the years: Pengwern was Welsh, Scrobbers Byrig was Saxon, meaning fought in the scrubland region, and Shrewsbury, which is used extensively today, that was devised by the Normans. Other names over the years: Slobbersbury and Shrewsbury. So do we call it Shrewsbury or do we call it Shrewsbury? As I've just mentioned, it was the Normans that put the O in the word to make it Shrewsbury, and then 200 years ago, O was removed and E was added, making it Shrewsbury. Well, I guess if you live round here, it depends on which side of the river you were born. Me personally, I'd like to see them rename it. Slobberberry.
No, we've done the turning round. We won't turn around again. When we get back to where we was on the
Coming up now on the right starboard side are some red looking buildings. That's the Shrewsbury Girls High School. I don't know if you know about Professor Dame Mary Beard, who's the commentator on the
when we
BBC.
get back to
She
where
has
we
went to
started.
school here.
Very hot now.
And if you wish to send your daughter there these days, it'll cost around £15,000 per year. Well, that's quite cheap compared to the next school's on.
Well, because that's what happens on this.
And you probably noticed in the middle of this bridge here a funny looking badge. And in fact it's the Shrewsbury Town crest. And you will see it throughout the town on rubbish bins and council vehicles, etc. But inside the badge, there's the crest if you like, there are 3 loggerheads, sort of mythical sort of leopard style animals. And the inscription below it says Floreat Salopia, which means may Shrewsbury flourish. It certainly has done over the past few years, because each year they seem to keep winning the Brittany Blue Golden Ball.
Oh, good. Do a bit more waving then. Big, huge waving, Elsie. Go on. Oh, come on, people. Wave, wave, wave. Keep waving, keep waving. It's all waving. Keep waving, keep waving.
Now we're just about to pass on the Kingsland
There,
Bridge.
somebody waved.
Kingsland Bridge is the tallest bridge over the river here in Shrewsbury. It was completed in 1881. Today it's a toll bridge. It costs you 20p to drive a car across. Although these days it's free to walk across. That used to cost a penny. It's sort of been given a nickname with the penny bridge.
Look, this one's had its hair cut. There's the park.
Coming up now on the
You are.
left-hand side is the Shrewsbury School boat. All quiet at the moment because they're all on their Easter holidays. But they're out here most days when during term time, rowing away. If you were to see behind the white doors there of the boathouse, it's full packed with different sized boats, different lengths. The amount we've got is probably about 1 each. At the end of the boathouse ramp on the left hand side is a set of steps, set of very worn steps. That's where you used to get onto a ferry, it used to run left to right across the river here before the bridges were built. That ferry used to run on a piece of chain that was attached to the ferry post, which is still there today on the right hand bank, a big square wooden post with a large metal hook on it. The reason for the chain was to stop the ferry from being swept away by the natural river streamage on its way across. On the left up the hill now is a very large red building with a green tower. That's Shrewsbury School. It used to be predominantly for boys, but both boys and girls can attend these days, as long as they bring with them around £40,000 full board fees per year. It really doesn't sound a lot if you say it quickly. Famous people to go to that school over the years: Willie Rushton, Michael Heseltine, Michael Palin, John Peel, Nick Owen, and Richard Ingrams. Charles Darwin, however, he did go to Shrewsbury School, but not when he was based there, when it was based where the library is today, across the road from the castle. And you can see his statue in front of the library, with him sat in his armchair, looking at the castle. Charles Darwin was born here in Shrewsbury in 1809, and is now buried at Westminster Abbey. And if you're wondering what the building was used for before the school took it over, it used to be a workhouse during the World Wars. If we now move our attention over to the right starboard side, we can see the Quarry Park, 29 acres. It's where we hold the flower show in the middle of August each year. And last year actually celebrated its 131st appearance here in the Great Park area. making it the longest running flower show in the world. And when they started the flower shows all those years ago, they only exhibited carnations and gooseberries. I think it was the mayor at the time who liked those too. And also on the right there is the original Victorian bandstand. Behind the bandstand, you can see a brown hedged area. You can see how we call the dingle. It's a sunken garden, like as a quarry. And then it was redesigned by TV's first gardener, Percy Thrower. And within that area is a statue of Sabrina.
And you see
the River Severn.
I can see the swimming pool.
Charles Darwin, in his earlier years, did evolution experiments in there with pond newts.
Not the one you go to when Mum is at gym.
And if you do get a chance to visit the dingle, I'd highly recommend it because it really is lovely.
There's some church.
And also in the Quarry Park area, you can see all these avenues, and they're all lined with trees. They're lime trees. They were all planted by Percy Thrower and his team in 1951. But they were to replace existing lime trees that were either falling down, planted too close together, or simply too old. Percy Thrower and his team took a few years to remove all the old trees because there were so many of them before planting these, as we see today.
Don't make too much of it. They don't have to do so much clearing up on
And coming up now on the right starboard side is a cheeky statue. No, it's not Percy Thrower, it's Hercules. Now Hercules has moved around the county a bit. He started life at Condover Hall, about 6 miles south of Shrewsbury, and then he was moved and put by St Chad's Church, which is on the right of the hill there. But there he was deemed to be putting the parishioners off their prayers, so that's why he was moved down here out of the way. A couple of things have happened to him over the years. At one point somebody actually painted him in the Shrewsbury Town football colours, but someone else actually stole the most important bit off the front, and now's the fiddly in its place. And on the right up the hill now is a black and white half-timber framed house. That's Quarry Lodge. That was home for Percy Thrower and his family when he was the park superintendent here. Today it's the home of the flower show. And to the right of Quarry Lodge is St Chad's Church, completed in 1792. Now this is the second St Chad's Church because the first one actually collapsed. And there are bits of it still up around Milk Street here in Shrewsbury. So what happened to the first one was, they were ringing the bells one day, they had the service, they all left, and they were locking up, slamming the front door, and the whole bell tower collapsed. They decided it wasn't repairable, so this is why they built this one, as we see here today. This one here is actually the largest round church out of 4 in England. Charles Darwin was baptised here, his year of birth, 1809. And around the back of this St Chad's is a graveyard. It's an actual headstone with the words Ebenezer Scrooge stamped on it. This was left there after they finished the filming of The Christmas Carol here in Shrewsbury in 1980. To the left of St Chad's there is a clock tower, that's over the Market Hall here in Shrewsbury. The tower itself is around 55 years old, and they still haven't managed to get each clock face to read the same. If you go around the other side, it says 1:15.
There's another goose coming up.
Well, we're just about to pass under Port Hill Bridge, commonly known as the Bouncy Bridge. It was completed in 1922. In that year, it was actually gifted to the town by the flower show organisers. Cost them then £2,600 to construct. Doesn't seem a lot, but there is a similar looking bridge. Boathouse pub here on the left, very, very old coaching inn, dates back well before the plague times in Shrewsbury. Always seems to be the place to be when the sun's shining. Just a shame there's not a few more pubs along the river like that. Well, we're nearly back from where we started. The Welsh Bridge, completed in 1795. And the word Welsh, it's got 5 letters. Welsh Bridge, 5 arches. And the word English, 7 letters. English Bridge, 7 arches. So if you ever get lost here in Shrewsbury, just count the arches and you'll know where you are. Just beyond the Welsh Bridge now, to the left-hand side, is the Theatre 7, which was completed in 2009. When they were digging the foundations, they came across the remains of the previous bridge, St George's, which was completed in the latter part of the 12th century. A much larger, wider bridge, because in those days the River Severn was a lot wider than it is today. And in the middle of the bridge was a large tower, so they could control entry and exit. St George's Bridge also had houses on it, but unfortunately in the 1700s the bridge was partially destroyed by the highest ever recorded floods here in Shrewsbury, hence the birth of the Welsh Bridge as we see it today. And they also found the remains of an inland port. Shrewsbury was a busy inland port from the 14th and 15th centuries. In fact, it was the 3rd most important township in England, behind London and York, for the transportation of goods along the river. Wool was brought from Wales via the river, and it stopped up here in Shrewsbury to be treated and dyed in the drapers' buildings in the town before onward movement along the river to wherever. Just beyond the Welsh Bridge now, to the right-hand side, is a thing called the Quantum Leap. I can only really describe it as looking like a large backbone affair. It's even been known to be called the Slinky Spring. It was put there to celebrate Charles Darwin's bicentenary of his birth. A bit further on the right-hand side, on the skyline, behind the Premier Inn, is the top portion of the Shrewsbury Castle.